One of the virtues that I think many people wonder about today is the virtue of humility. Today, let's take a little look at humility, which was discussed in the Gospel on Sunday. In order to understand what humility is, let us look at the definition as given in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Humility, the virtue by which a Christian acknowledges that God is the author of all good. Humility avoids inordinate ambition or pride, and provides a foundation for turning to God in prayer. Voluntary humility can be described as poverty of spirit. The simplest and easiest, though lacking definition of humility is that it is the opposite of pride. However, as a general rule, in speaking about virtue, there is a gradation. Virtue is a middle ground. I will try to illustrate this to you. Imagine virtue as a number line. The negative of virtue, or in this case of the virtue of humility, is pride. On the opposite, the positive is an excess of virtue. In this case, a humility that flaunts itself or acts self-important could be an excess of the virtue of humility. What you really want is a middle ground of virtue. Indeed, even humility, though a false one, can be pride. We must be able to put humility into a truly Christian sense. We must also understand that there is a difference between humility and humbleness. And here's the dictionary definition of both those words. Humbleness, the first definition, the quality or state of being modest and lacking in pride or arrogance. The second, the quality or state of being or feeling low in rank, importance, status, worth, etc. And third, the quality or state of being courteously respectful. And humility, the quality or condition of being humble, modest opinion or estimate of one's own importance, rank, etc. Synonyms for humility: submissiveness, meekness, and lowliness, and antonyms: pride. The definition in these two words is the state or condition. You will notice that the second definition of the first word and the only definition of the second are identical, save this one word. You will notice too that the definition in a dictionary is almost identical to the definition of the Catechism, save that the Catechism says that one places oneself under God, and the second says that one has a modest position or opinion of oneself. The Catechism uses the word humility. It does not use the word humbleness, at least within its glossary. Both of them go back to the idea of modesty, which we talked about previously. Modesty is not just clothing, rather modesty can be applied to human act and actions. In terms of humility and humbleness, I want you to think of humbleness and humility in two different lights. Humbleness is the world's view of being modest in character, lacking arrogance or pride. It is also relating to rank. Let's look at the Gospel from Sunday, which speaks to rank. Now he told a parable to those who were invited, when he marked how they chose the places of honor, saying to them, "When you are invited by anyone to a marriage feast, do not sit in a place of honor, lest a more eminent man than you be invited by him. And he who invited you both will come and say to you, Give place to this man, and then you will begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go sit in the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, 'Friend, go up higher.' Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted." He said also to the man who had invited him, "When you give a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends, or your brothers, or your kinsmen, or your rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return, and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and the blessed, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you. You will be repaid at the resurrection of the just." Jesus teaches us an important lesson of humility. Do not sit with the high and mighty, for one greater than you may come, and you will be made to sit lower. If we look at who the world looks at as great, and who we try and emulate, who is it? It is those who possess often great abilities. We respect those who are great actors or singers, or sometimes just those who are very popular for their movies or songs or other acts. We hold in high esteem athletes and sports teams and so on. Humbleness reminds us that we are not the greatest. We are not the smartest or the wisest. And in a sense, Christian humility reminds us this. Humility asks us to remind ourselves that there is someone greater than us in virtue. But that is not completeness of Christian humility. It is an important part, no doubt, but humility is not just in our interactions with each other. Humility is also about our interactions with God. Humility with God ultimately calls us to two things. The first is that we are called to reflect upon the nature of our life, that we are sinners. This we must acknowledge. That is why we begin each Mass with a penitential act, and why Catholics traditionally end the day with an examination of conscience. This is why the Catechism says that humility is an important part of prayer, of putting ourselves within God's presence. We must call to mind that we are weak and powerless sinners before God, and it is by His mercy that we are brought up. This is what the Catechism talks about when it says that a Christian acknowledges God as the source of good. That is important. God is the source and summit of goodness. All that is truly good is from God, and God is the ultimate goodness. We must understand that we are always under God, who is the greatest good. Our goodness holds no candle to God's greatness, and our greatness and success, we must understand, ultimately comes from God. Our success and our good fortune comes from God and Him alone, a blessing from Him. And part of humility is accepting and thanking God for these blessings. In the same, humility for God is just like humility in the gospel, acknowledging that we are the least at the feast and allowing the Lord of the feast to move us up, rather than taking us down. This does not mean we cannot rejoice in our great actions or the great actions of others. We cannot say that we cannot have pride. Pride is good in a metered and limited form that seeks not to be its own end. Humility does involve removing from ourselves pride and extraordinary arrogance. Humility is, instead of drawing attention to ourselves, to our supposed greatness, it is drawing attention to the greatness of God. We must avoid pride and arrogance if we consider ourselves to be Christians. Humility is an important Christian virtue, and like the many virtues of faith, we should strive to achieve it, applying it to our everyday lives. Let humility and all the virtues, especially those of faith, hope, and charity, love, grow within our hearts this day and all the days of our lives. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Doing so helps us to spread this Catholic and Christian message to all. Please also consider supporting this channel on Patreon.